Okay, so here's the private video of where I land on do I believe in ghosts? And the answer is yes. And you knew it was yes before you clicked on this because you knew me. And here's my reasoning why. My brother died. I had a brother, and my brother died when he was in his 30s. I'm checking the time because I got to get ready for work. He died when he was in his 30s. He had hepatitis, and he never told anybody about it. And he went to the hospital one day because he was throwing up blood at work. And he went to the hospital and he went into a coma, and he was in a coma for several days. And so I was in the waiting room with his ex-girlfriend, Marla. And we were in there, and we were down a little bit from where he was. And just as loud as you can believe it, he yelled out, "Meg!" Like that, just totally loud. And we looked at each other, and we were like, he's awake. He's awake. So we went rushing down, running down there, flew back the curtain because in ICU, they don't have a lot of doors, they have a lot of curtains. And so we flew back the curtain, and we scared the crap out of a nurse in there because it was a nurse in there and she was doing his IV and everything like that. And we're like, he called me, he woke up. And he was like, no, he hasn't said a word. And I believe that's when he crossed over. And when my father died, he was in hospice at home, and we were in this house, and he was being given morphine because he was slowly dying he had a heart attack, and there was so much damage done to the heart. He was slowly dying. And as we were sitting there, my mother and I were sitting there next to his bed, every light in the house turned off. Just every light in the house turned off. And then every light in the house came back on. And that's when I believe he crossed over. And he was conscious until about, this was my father, he was conscious until about, maybe the day before he died. And he kept talking about seeing a woman. There was a woman in the room with him. And our house has always been weird. Our house has always been, we are on over 100-year-old Indian ranch, the Perryman Ranch. Our house has always been weird. We've always had doors opening and shutting by themselves. We've always had, did you turn that light off? I thought I turned that light off, that kind of thing. We hear voices occasionally, far away, very far away. And so just recently, just this last week, it was after midnight. I don't know how long after midnight, but we were lying in bed, and we heard this voice. We both heard this voice. This is my husband and myself, and my husband is a huge skeptic. And we heard this voice, and it was like, please help, please help, and everything. So I immediately thought of my mother because she lives in a mother-in-law addition behind us. So I jumped out of bed and I go racing back there, and she's sound asleep. So I'm like, wow, what was that? And everything like that. And it's coming from inside the house. And so my husband gets up too, and he's like, could it be someone calling their dog? And I was like, at midnight? I'm like, I guess. But it was like, please help. It was so fucking creepy. And our dog, I said the F word on YouTube. Oh, thanks. Sorry. I hope I don't get cut off for that. So, YouTube, I'm sorry. So, our dog was freaking out. He was running around the house. He was barking. He was all bristled up. He was just really sensing something. And so I went to the front door, and I opened the front door, and I'm holding on to the dog because I have a big dog. I'm holding on to the dog, and I open up the front door, and it stops immediately. It stops. So now, those are my stories, but why do I actually believe? I actually believe because I think we're all made of energy, and energy has to go somewhere. And I think that after a while, energy, like from my energy, call it the soul, call it whatever you want to call it. I call it my energy. My energy after I pass will still be around. And then after a while it will get weaker and weaker and weaker. And that's what I think a ghost is. I think a ghost is just energy that every now and again exposes itself to us. That's what I think. I mean, after my father died, my mother had a lot of incidents in her little addition where she lived with him, where she said that she could hear the cabinet doors opening at, late at night, and she would lie there listening to it, and she knew she wasn't sleeping and everything. And he would always get up in the middle of the night and eat cereal. If he couldn't sleep, he would eat cereal. And so it was the same sounds as him, pouring the cereal and everything like that. So I believe because we're all energy, and energy goes somewhere. I don't know where, but it doesn't disappear. It doesn't just go away. It gets weaker, but it's still there. But every now and again, a little bit of energy. So I don't know what that please help was, but I know for a fact, and I have witnesses, that my brother called out to me when he passed over. And I know for a fact that every light in this house went out when my father crossed over. And I know those for facts. And yes, I believe.